Hi, Amy. How are you doing today?
Hi, Herky. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. How was your day at work?
It was a day, let's just say that way. Just
Oh,
a lot of competing priorities and things
mm,
to take care of. Feeling a
oh,
little overwhelmed.
okay, okay. Yeah, you brought that up last time, so that overwhelm is still here. Okay. Um, what is causing the overwhelm, or what is the main issue going on here?
You know, I often feel like I'm always in a constant state of drowning, and no matter how much I give of myself at work, at home, with the kids, and other, family commitments. I'm always running on this constant state of guilt. Like I'm not doing
Hmm.
enough in either
Okay,
place. Um,
okay.
so I think that just turns into a feeling of, being overwhelmed all the time because you're just constantly trying to do more and more and more.
Mm.
And it's taking a toll on me.
Yeah, I can understand that must be very difficult. But by the end of today's session, I'd love for you to walk away with more clarity on what's really driving your guilt and what are some practical ways to release it. Yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you first. You mentioned in the last session to end this time to like doing enough. It feels like no matter what you do, it never feels like enough. What does doing enough look like to you? How would you define like doing enough? What would the success of doing enough be?
Um, I guess, it's really I run in a system of checklists,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to check every box every single day for example, if I'm at work, being able to accomplish everything that comes my way, um, fulfilling
Mm-hmm.
every commitment for the kids, whether, like, Alex, give you an example. Today there was a PTA meeting and
Mm-hmm.
something urgently came up at work, although I had planned to leave early and be there for the PTA meeting, and I couldn't make
Mm-hmm.
it. So it just, that guilt. Now I'm sitting here feeling guilty that I didn't make it for my child's parent teacher meeting. And
Mm-hmm.
um, like, how am I showing up for my kids always
Mm-hmm.
first? And then how am I showing up at work for my team? It's really, I have a very challenging job, um,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes very high stakes and requires extremely long hours. So like creating that balance has been an ongoing challenge for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the way the word balance is also thrown off these days, sometimes it can feel very heavy. It can feel like a never-ending checklist that no matter what you do, it is never done. You mentioned about the checklist and you want to check every box. How manageable is your checklist? If you were to zoom out a little and look at your checklist and your commitments to family and work and yourself, how does the checklist feel?
Unreasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
But I struggle with shaving things off, and
Mm,
like I always feel like everything has to be done today because I already foresee so much waiting for me tomorrow or the next week. Um,
mm,
so yeah, I mean, sometimes it's unreasonable, and sometimes honestly I feel like once the weekend hits, my body shuts down. I completely
mm,
go in a freeze mode because I can't keep up.
mm. Yeah. So there are these cycles of like working too much and then your body sort of freezes and then don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Would you
I
say
mean,
that's
every
right?
weekend I'm in a constant freeze mode.
Mm, yeah. So, what would you say to your friend, colleague, daughter about who felt this way, the way you're feeling?
I often tell my direct reports,
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly telling them family comes first, work is always going to be waiting for you. But I
Mm,
somehow cannot, I feel like when they're not able to accomplish what needs to be done, I automatically default to, I'm going to get it done.
hmm. Okay. So it seems
And
like
I,
if you do, sorry, go ahead.
sorry. And, I struggle with delegation, even at work.
Mm, okay. Tell me a little bit more about what makes you struggle with delegation.
Um, I guess I want everything done in a way that I envision.
Mm,
And if it doesn't meet that vision
hmm,
and perfection, it's a very unsettling feeling for me.
mm, yes.
Uh, Especially because I realize the impact it can have, the larger impact it has on the people we care for at work. Um,
Mm,
and then it translates into the same thing at home. I mean, I'll delegate my kids to do something and I'll take it away from them because it's not done the way I want it.
right. Yes. Would you say there's this sense of perfectionism always prevailing? Has it been always this way?
Yes, I think for
Okay.
as long as I can remember, it's always been this way.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not alone in feeling this way. A lot of women, especially women in your, top executive positions, they often struggle with perfectionism or overfunctioning or one of those things, and hence the drowning feeling, like you mentioned, of no matter how much you do, it's never enough, right? So, what is this costing you, Amy?
My health,
Mm-hmm.
my well-being, and I
Mm-hmm.
see it. I see it physically manifest in my body.
Mm, yeah. So it seems like you have a degree of self-awareness as to what this is and how it's impacting you. And would you like for it to continue this way? Would you like to shift this, that such that you can define good enough in a way that's realistic and sustainable and does not impact your health and your well-being?
Absolutely. I mean, yes, this is I don't want to call it toxic, but this is a cycle that I have to break.
Yeah.
Because I feel that it's not sustainable, right? I can probably go on maybe 3 or 4 years um, on this pace, but I know ultimately it's not sustainable, and I'm already feeling like I'm hitting some level of um, burnout, and I really enjoy what I do, so I want to continue to do it.
Yeah. So that's good news that you have the awareness and there's an intention to shift. What do you feel are a few things that you can begin with? What is one thing that maybe today or tomorrow, even if it's something you think about or reflect upon, how do you think you can change the way things are right now to something that you wish for it to be?
I think keeping the commitments I make towards myself, I am very, very bad with that.
Hmm.
And I see like every promise I make to myself, for the next, like, for example, maybe for the last 2 years, I've been trying to engage in something for wellness, joining a gym, hiring a personal trainer.
Hmm.
And it always seems to snowball into the next year, the following year, the following year. And I've had
Mm.
a few health setbacks already, and I need to keep the commitments I make to myself as much as I keep the ones that I make for others towards others.
Right. Yes. And often we women are great at that, right? Aren't we? At being
We
nurturers
come
and
last.
caretakers and at the cost of our own health sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten a few rude awakenings. I feel like, what more?
Mm,
Um, it's about
yeah.
time. I struggle. I struggle with convincing myself to keep that promise.
Mm, yeah. Well, the intent to have more self-care and to be more self-compassionate is in the right place because the balm for perfectionism is self-compassion. So you soften the edges around the expectations that you uphold for yourself. and in whatever your belief systems and frameworks that you have set up that you need to be a certain way. But you said you struggle with it. And so let's take this a little bit further. What do you believe? What do you believe a person of the type of position you have and in motherhood, who should you be? What are the expectations you have of yourself that you should be, I should be, and fill in the blanks?
Realistic expectations or the ones that I care are living in now?
Yeah, there are thoughts that we are able to recognize that we know that circle our head, and there are also some subconscious beliefs that play out in a way that we function. So, for example, I, as a mother, I'm a mom of three, and I used to see other moms who would show up for their kids, and moms who would seem so put together, and at the bus stop, everything seemed so perfect. And I used to have this nagging sense of guilt that somehow I'm not doing enough for my kids, and I have had a lot of like lack. I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that, I should be. So anytime we hold these kind of expectations, no matter what we do, although I was doing a lot for my kids, but it never seemed enough. So one way to counter that is to find evidence for what you are doing. So I'll ask you a few questions around that, but also to challenge the beliefs that we hold, the assumptions that we feel. And these could come from society. We could have put it could be conditioning, it could just be the way you thought or some idea you picked up and believe that that is true. So that's why I was trying to go deeper into I should be this mom or this director that does what? Does something come up when I talk of that?
Um, yes, I think the first thing that comes up, to your point that you shared, right? Like there is some these societal standards that you feel in your head, you've been raised with them and you actually believe them to be true. And
Hmm.
undoing that is the biggest challenge. So yes, I mean, I know it from a motherhood angle, I am
Hmm.
constantly in a state of guilt. I am
Mm,
so what I would like to do is feel less guilt because and realize that I am doing the best I can. I am one person. Um, but I would like to show up for my kids differently
mhm,
and more. And by differently, I feel like being emotionally available to them and not
mhm,
being living in a constant state of stress. I feel like it's
mm,
like this adrenaline rush that never leaves you.
mhm.
Um, and being actually present, being present in the moments that I have with them, maybe not a whole lot.
Right,
Um, and coming from being able to enjoy the little joys if they're having their games, showing up for that, just the little things because they grow up
right.
so fast.
Yes,
And
that's true. Hmm.
and I often find myself, being short with them because I am short on my own energy. It's
Yes.
not an excuse, but I am. I'm constantly short with them and they give me that feedback and I have to check myself.
Yes, and it can happen, right? When we are feeling overtired, when the body feels exhausted, when mentally you feel, so overcharged and burnt out, it's very much possible that whoever we are, at the end of the day, you feel so exhausted. So I want to, validate that your emotions that you feel are not wrong per se. It's just like a tired body can have only this much, stamina to then go home and start the cycle again, right? So let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about focus on what you are doing. Let's focus on the things you mentioned, motherhood. So begin with that. Tell me a few things that you do show up as a mom, whether it's years ago or now, or what comes to mind that as a mother, some things that you do. You just mentioned you are going for the parent teachers meet. What are some things you do as a mom? What are some things that make you joyful or proud of your motherhood journey?
Um, I think I have a very open relationship with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that I was intentional about. but I feel
Hmm.
like it needs a little bit more, it's always going to be an ongoing thing as they grow into adults.
Hmm.
So I am proud of that. I hope I'm not jinxing it. Not gonna win. Um,
Hmm.
I am the primary breadwinner for the family. So I feel like my commitment towards my job is also a little bit because I feel the need to be able to support them in a way where they don't feel a sense of lack because growing up we
Hmm.
didn't have a whole lot and I don't want them to grow up feeling that sense of lack.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
and honestly, um, I don't know. This food on the
Yeah.
plate, I do their laundry.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
and
those are,
and being able to support them through the different stages of life that they're in. My son is a teenager in high school, and my daughter has just transitioned to college, so they've had their own challenges. And I think for
right.
me, a lot of times I have to remind myself the fact that they're able to connect with me and reach out to me when they're at their worst is
Hmm.
should be enough for me. But
Yeah.
somehow it
Yeah.
it doesn't always translate that way in my head.
Yeah, but can you let that sit in, like sink in a little bit with, you having a beautiful relationship with your children, you being the primary breadwinner, and then, supporting them and them feeling connected. So surely they're giving you feedback of if they open up to you and share their struggles and you're there for them, definitely you're not giving yourself enough credit, on your for you as a mom. And even the little things, let's not dismiss those of laundry and food and cooking and all those things that we do. Um,
My
how,
son will disagree, though. Let me tell you about the cooking.
yeah, but to the best of what you could do, at knowing that there is so many other things that you're also doing to provide for them, can you let that, how does that feel if I ask you to just let that sink in, and feel it in your body? Let's do this for a few seconds and tell me if you feel any resistance or if there's more thoughts like, oh, but that's what everybody does. That's not enough. Or tell me, I'll give you a few moments. Maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let this feeling of fullness settle into your body where you've done everything that you could and you're still showing up the best you can every single day as a mom. And you're celebrating the relationship that you have with them and the times that they have learned from you, the times that you've had joyful times, challenging times, the togetherness, and being able to provide for them. And let me know how that feels to you.
When I sit with it,
Mm,
I realize that's
mm,
it's enough, right? When I'm
mm,
intentional about it.
mm.
But in my daily life, I guess I'm wired to always look for what's not there or what's
Right.
lacking. And I'm constantly, my internal dialogue is,
Hmm.
you did not do X, Y, and Z. You at
Right.
home. You did not do X, Y, and Z at work. You did not do X, Y, and Z for your kids. My internal
Right.
dialogue is never, you did so much in this day. You've lived 9 lives in 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
But
exactly, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. I was just saying, like I'm programmed to always find what didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's a very negative way of thinking, but
And
uh,
we are all programmed that way. It's our survival mechanism that constantly our brain scans for what's wrong in the environment versus what is good. So it takes a little bit of more intention. And like you said, when I sit with it, it was so beautiful to hear you say that when I sit with it, it feels enough. And I also felt like an shift in your voice and energy. So definitely, if you allow yourself to celebrate and acknowledge that what you're doing is enough, that enoughness and letting it seep deep in. So it's more like a realization that you feel deep in your bones slowly, even if it's 5% at a time. I think more and more you will begin to operate from that and you're going to change the programming to what's going well, what is going right in my life. So those are some things that initially you may need a few reminders, some sticky notes, maybe something on your phone to remind yourself what is going well, maybe holding some space for acknowledgement and gratitude. And then operating from that space will give you more capacity to what you need to do. Right now, you are evaluating yourself against a checklist, and that checklist seems to never end, right?
Mm.
And then from the parameters are just way too high. And this is human, you're a human being, not a human doing. So giving yourself that grace and setting some realistic expectations, having self-compassion and celebrating progress instead of perfection, I think will give you a little bit of sustainable, realistic ways of to maintain your well-being. And your self-worth is not just about your achievements, it's about just being for whoever you are and whatever, however you show up in the world, right? And you are already doing so much at work too. Last time you were sharing about the whole new unit that you're in charge of and the tremendous way that you care as a leader. So today we discussed about the parenting. Maybe next week we can also go deeper into the work aspect of it. But before we wrap our call today, I wanted to give you, if you're comfortable with a little homework wherein you will go and journal and celebrate the things that you feel proud of. Since we began already the motherhood, maybe you can reiterate and write this again. And every day, just taking a few minutes in a day and let this practice, find time, even if it takes 2 minutes, find time to write this and rewire your brain to see what is going well. And this will give you the chance to be more celebratory, the chance to experience the joy, the chance to be more present when you are with your kids, and also having that feeling of wholeness within you. Yeah, how does that sound?
100%. I took note of what you just said. It was beautiful. I am a human being, not doing. So when my checklist is running crazy, I'm going to write this at top of every checklist.
That's
Thank
so
you
good.
for sharing that.
You're very welcome. It was wonderful. Before we wrap up, what would you say is one takeaway from our call, Amy, today?
I am enough and I'm doing the
Mm.
best I can. And um, I'm going to become more intentional about giving myself the credit that I deserve and showing myself a little bit more compassion.
Beautiful. I love that. Was music to my ears, hearing all of this. All right. So good. Okay. It was wonderful chatting with you, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care and keep
It's always
celebrating.
nice talking to you. Thank you.
Yes. Take care.